Hello and welcome to Full Page Cache video. In this video, I will tell you about full page cache specifics for Magento 2 and will pay attention to non-cacheable pages, private content and ESI blocks. First, let's take a look on a block we have been using from the beginning of this course, and this is order success. The block doesn't have any information specific to page cache in the block class. However, if we'll go to check out one page success layout, we'll see that the block declaration has cacheable attribute set to false. And this attribute means that the block mustn't be cached. Because the blocks are cached first in block cache and then in page cache, to avoid block cache in general, Magento has to disable block cache for that block and disable the full page cache for the page where this block is rendered. That means that if the page contains at least one block with cacheable false attribute, the whole page will not be cached in full page cache storage. The reason why I set cacheable false here is that the block has to be shown to customer only once, right after order is placed, and it shouldn't be shown the second time. The next block I would like to show you is catalog block. And this block is actually calculating the luckiness of all the catalog. So it takes all prices of all products in the store, sums them up and defines if amount is lucky. This block is very sensitive to any changes in Magento store. So if at least one product will be changed, it has to recalculate the luckiness. That's why it is supposed to be invalidated frequently. However, it is still a good idea to cache that block, because such a global calculation can be resource consuming. So the approach for this block is to cache it, but avoid invalidation of any other content except for this block. And the solution is define this block as ESI block. And this can be done by layout XML attribute. Let's go to default XML layout. Here this block is declared, and the detail attribute in declaration of the block in layout means that block will be handled as ESI block. And ESI blocks are stored separately from other page content in full page cache engines. So when the request will be done for a page to the cache application, the cache application will get the page content and then will insert the content of this block to the page content from the separate storage in the application. Finally, let's take a look on the card block. And this block is used to display if the card amount is lucky. So it gets the grand total from the customer quote and defines if this amount is lucky. The information displayed in this block is private to each customer in the store. And that's why we wouldn't like this block to be cached on server side. However, it is a good idea to cache this block on client side. And to do this, I am specifying isScope private property of the block and setting it to true. That means that while processing of layout, the block will be replaced with placeholders and depersonalized information. Later, a separate JavaScript call will retrieve all such private blocks and put them in the place of placeholders. To understand the engine better, let's take a look on a couple of classes from Magento core. First, I would like to find the depersonalization plugins. and you can search for depersonalized plugin, and you'll see that several modules are introducing their depersonalization plugins. Actually, those are modules that are introducing their sessions. And let's go to catalog, for example. Depersonalization plugin and depersonalization plugins from all the models are used to clean sessions while the response to the main request for a page. And as you can see, they are cleaning the storage of the sessions. Let's take a look on conditions when it happened. So sessions will not be available to blocks or will behave like stubs if Magento page cache is enabled as a module, then full page cache as enabled on cache management page. The request is not Ajax, and the request is cacheable, so it's get or head. And finally, if page is cacheable, so if there are no blocks with cacheable false attribute. Now let's take a look on the algorithm of processing blocks in page cache module. For this purpose, I'll go to vendor Magento module page cache, and I'll open process layout render element observer, and I'll go to execute function. So this is an observer that is triggered during blocks rendering. The first condition if full page enabled and the page is cacheable. Then it will check if block is instance of abstract block and get blocks TTL. If block has TTL property and the varnish is enabled in configuration, so if cache application is set to varnish, then it will wrap the block as a ESI. If not, it will check for private scope, and if scope is private, it will wrap the block with placeholders used by JavaScript and the depersonalized content of the block rendered because of depersonalization plugins. Let's take a look how it behaves on frontend. So here I have my block, and it says that my cart is not lucky, and it isn't, because I don't have any numbers on the right side. However, if I will view page source of this page and search for lucky, I will find the wrapper for JavaScript and the message that your cart is lucky. And that message appears because the personalized session returned null as a grand total of quote. The main response will render that information, and then separate Ajax request will replace the content and tell the truth. Thank you, and in the next video I'll tell about optimizations from admin panel.